Have you ever heard of this video? If you haven't, my son and his friend can tell you all about it. Melanie Martinez's haunting music video that's equal parts art and emotional exorcism. With dreamlike visuals and piercing lyrics, Martinez exposes the hidden parasites that drain us, toxic thoughts, destructive behaviors, and people we let too close. It's weird, it's beautiful, and it's deeply relatable, and it might just leave you thinking about your own inner leeches.
Yeah, I don't know that I think it's beautiful. I think it's just plain weird. But it does make some important points. I mean, there are thoughts, just thoughts that can keep us really stuck and exhausted. Do we believe that doing our tasks through the day makes us tired or energizes us? Well, what we believe about that can have a great deal to do with how it turns out.
So this music video had over 1 million views in 24 hours, and we were one of those views because my son introduced us to Melanie Martinez, her Portal album, and this new music video, Leeches. It did strike a nerve. A lot of people have commented on it. Why do you think?
I think a lot of people have had experiences with what we might call leeches or energy vampires, if you prefer. And it can be thoughts, it can be people, it can be a whole bunch of different things that drain us of our energy. It reminds me of being at a high school reunion this last week. Can you believe I've been out of high school 40 years? Crazy. Anyway, but a friend of ours told us about having discovered that when she had been married, she's divorced, that she would say, "I need you, I need you, I need you," to her husband, practically smothering him with her needy, demanding kind of energy, and she realized that wasn't a healthy way to live. But I don't think she did it because she wanted to suck somebody's blood. I think she was just really needy.
Exactly. And that's really what we're talking about today, because I noticed that all the comments were about, oh, we shouldn't let leeches into our lives. Let's make sure we don't have leeches in our lives. And I actually think the best way to not attract leeches into our lives is to not be leeches. And that starts with managing and being responsible for our inner world. And those are the leeches we really want to focus on today. This video just gives a surreal and haunting exploration of that parasitic force that's in all of our lives. But I think we need to go deeper than just what we experience in our relationships.
I think sometimes you don't notice that you have a leech in your life until you've kind of overcome your own leechiness, for lack of a better word. Like I have this friend
It's true.
who got divorced a couple of years before I did. And he and I used to talk a lot, and he had one of the worst divorce stories I've ever heard. I won't go into it, but suffice it to say, it was terrible. And when he and I used to talk together about our ex-wives and, you know, how bad our lives had gotten and everything, in a way, it felt sort of mutually validating for a while. But as I started to heal from the trauma of my divorce, he was still really stuck. And Cathy and I have been married, 7 years. And this guy, it's been 14 or 15 years, is still talking nonstop about his divorce to anybody and everybody who will listen. And it got less and less easy to be around it and to talk to him about it as I was becoming more healed and less comfortable in that kind of energy.
Yeah, that's true. I think we stay stuck in leech relationships when we don't take care of those inner leeches. Yeah, this Leeches music, and especially the music video, it masterfully portrays our thoughts, behaviors, and relationships.
One of my favorite self-development coaches started clear back in the 70s was Jim Rohn. In fact, he was a mentor to Tony Robbins. But Jim Rohn used to say that we are the average of the 5 people we most closely associate with. A fairly famous saying, but he was, I think, the originator of that. And I think it's really true. If we're with somebody who's constantly draining us, we're going to feel drained.
While the comments focused on leeches outside of ourselves, as we've said, we want to go deeper and see how inner leeches drain us, unless we learn how to recognize them and remove them while they're small and manageable, like when she was a little girl with a little leech, before they get out of control and eat us alive, like when she grows up and she not only has a large leech, they multiply in her world. And honestly, that's why we coach, because we know how big of a difference it can make to really tackle toxic thoughts and toxic behaviors in ourselves early on.
You know, the proverb says, as a man thinketh in his heart, so is he. And I think, that was thousands of years ago that was said, but it's still true. It's still an important part of human nature. And it used to be that brain scientists believe that once you're like 25, your brain stops developing, it stops growing. And that's kind of been debunked in the last few years. Your brain still develops, it still learns new things, and you can develop new neural pathways. And I say that to give us hope because we can learn to change our thoughts, our automatic reactions to certain things that happen. We don't have to remain stuck in trauma, in fear, in, all of those kinds of negative thoughts that we may be used to.
I think what's really sad about this video is not only did the leech never get smaller, it ultimately took her life in the end.
Right.
I mean, it killed her. It literally sucked the life out of her when the music video is over, which really doesn't leave a hopeful message. Toxic thoughts are internal leeches we don't see. We have leeches in our mind, those toxic thought patterns that often begin in childhood as coping mechanisms. They seem harmless or even helpful at first.
Yeah, and it's very difficult. To quote the music, leeches surrounded, conscience is throbbing, shows the inner torment these thoughts cause.
It's disguised as safety. These thoughts may feel like protective beliefs, but they are actually limiting and self-sabotaging.
When we think about trauma, oftentimes we're thinking about the big car accident or a soldier in battle seeing a buddy get blown up next to him, and those are definitely trauma. We call that big T trauma. But a lot of people aren't aware that we have little t trauma as well. And my favorite example of that is suppose there's a man who comes home every day and tries to give his wife a kiss, and she grimaces and turns her head. And she does that over and over again for years. Each one of those individual little traumas is not necessarily going to amount to much, but if it's repeated hundreds and hundreds of times every day, every week, every month, it builds up to create a significant trauma, just like that traumatic car wreck or something.
And it contributes to a layered onion mind that requires intentional healing. I mean, we have those layers in our minds that we have to peel back. And sometimes we think we've made progress and then we feel like we've reverted, but it's just because there's so many layers to our brains over time that develop. At the beginning of this video, you actually see that this girl is upset, and that's when the leech comes. And she relates with the leech. She's like, oh, I know what it's like to hurt. And so if you think about it, that's like when partners get together and trauma bond. They leech energy even as they feel like they're comforting each other.
This is something I learned from dating after divorce, that sometimes you can get together with a dating partner and you might be having dinner or something and you're talking about your exes, and at the time it feels really good, and what you're really doing is trauma bonding. And I always found though that it leaves you feeling kind of icky at the end of the evening.
If you're divorced or have a recent relationship that ended and you're really upset about it, yeah, it's going to be really tempting to go on dates and get together with other people that also want to talk about their heartache and woes. And we highly advise being responsible about that and taking a little time to heal before you go out and meet new people so you aren't attracting those leeches into your life. So really the healing idea with the toxic thoughts is to name and examine them. And like pulling a leech off your brain, it might be painful at first, but it definitely stops the bleed. It helps heal it long term. Now, let's move to toxic behaviors, because really that's the result of toxic thoughts, right, Jeff? I mean, that's a big part of our coaching strategy, is understanding that our thoughts lead to our actions. And they naturally do every time. And that's when we become leeches. And whoever says, I'm a leech, I'm going to go leech off people, no one does. And yet there's leeches in this world. And the only way that that's ever going to heal is when we recognize when we're doing that.
Reminds me of a proverb that Ezra Taft Benson used to quote: sow a thought, reap an act. Sow an act, reap a habit. Sow a habit, reap a character. Sow a character, reap an eternal destiny. And the idea is that it all begins with your thoughts. It moves into the realm of action.
Well, and you know what's interesting about the leech in the beginning of this music video is that it turns down every healthy opportunity that the girl gives it. She's like, oh, here's a cup of water. And the leech spills the water and goes for her blood. And often we will choose indulgent over nourishment. And that's like us choosing blood over water, just like the leech did in the music video.
Yeah, Cathy, what you were just discussing is kind of like the lyric in the song, how much blood can you draw from a flesh that's not yours?
So unconscious habits, addictions, self-isolation, perfectionism, a lot of these are behaviors we think protect us, but they actually isolate us and harm others. And the relational fallout is that toxic behaviors don't stay isolated. They spill into how we treat those around us.
Yeah, it's like the friend we were talking about that used to desperately cry to her husband, I need you, I need you, I need you. And ultimately that kind of neediness poisons relationships. It makes people feel smothered and inadequate. And eventually all they want is to be free of it.
That's a good example, Jeff. And it reminds me of the lyric in the song, gnaw on my bones, no marrow left to keep you enthralled. Those self-destructive behaviors leave us feeling empty. And so does it when we leech off of others, really. I mean, there's just nothing left for anybody when we do that.
There's a fundamental principle in psychology. If I'm trying to meet my need for validation by talking endlessly, I can talk and talk and talk until I'm blue in the face and can't even breathe. It won't give me enough relief to really feel better.
So our call to you is accountability, and to ourselves. I mean, we have to work on this in our marriage and in our own personal lives as well. The accountability we're talking about is that healing means acknowledging when we're acting out our woundedness, and we can choose different. This is another reason we coach, especially those who are recovering from divorce or other relationship loss, so that they can become better rather than bitter and thrive in life without the inner and outer leeches holding them back.
All right, so our third topic is toxic relationships, the leeches we let in.
They're the easiest to spot, right, Jeff? I mean, that's what everybody was commenting on. Might even be the hardest to escape in some ways. While it's easier to identify toxicity in others, we often stay in those relationships because we feel fear or guilt or maybe even comfortable there.
It's deceptively simple that we might find it easy to spot a leech, but if you've had one in your life, let's suppose you had a marriage where your partner was always demanding of you and, saying things that made you feel less than all the time, you might have someone step into that person's shoes in a new relationship with you, and you misinterpret what they're saying because you're expecting them to want and to behave like a previous partner. So
and that's
it can be tricky.
And that's like the lyric in the song, they eat off the table that you set, so you starve. Others benefit while we suffer. That can be a pattern in relationships, and it's a parasitic pattern.
And that doesn't mean that every crumb you give someone is extracted by a leech. It means you've got to be giving from a healthy place.
Right. Well, manipulators often gaslight, guilt trip, or smother under the guise of love or friendship. Another lyric, they find any way just to make you stay right where they want you.
Yeah, enablers multiply. One leech invites more. And Martinez sings, let all their friends in, the enemy's present. Do you ever feel pressure when you hear the words, I would do it for you? Or, you know what a good friend would do in this situation? I'm not a huge fan of the Twilight movies, but I do like the quote where Charlie says to his daughter Bella Swan, sometimes, Belle, you just need to learn to love what's good for you.
I would dare say for those who don't choose to acknowledge their own inner leeches, those toxic thought patterns and behaviors that are in you will end up attracting leeches into your life. When you make every effort not to feed your inner leeches, like coming to coaching with one of us, you are more likely to attract healthy relationships into your life.
All right, just to summarize some of the key points that we've discussed.
You can reclaim your power as you focus on
toxicity isn't just out there. It begins within our own thoughts and behaviors and extends to who we allow into our emotional space.
So we encourage you to reflect, identify your own leeches, internal and external, and begin the work of healing and removing them. And one final thought.
Remember, any time is a great time for more love and less leeches in your life.
go to our website at loveinlateryears.com and schedule a free consult, and we can discuss what we can do to help you out with the leeches in your life.
This video is sponsored by New Calm, an app that will support you in living your best life. Feeling stressed? No matter what your day throws at you, in just a few minutes you can feel recharged, centered, and ready to go. Try it for yourself and feel the difference. Click on the link in our video description. Thanks for joining us for another week on LilyTube. If you enjoy what you see, support us by liking, commenting, and sharing your favorite videos with others who could benefit.
As single life and relationship coaches, our mission is to help single adults intentionally heal from loss to create a happy life and healthy relationships. Keep coming back and we'll keep you encouraged. Each week, we provide new and refreshing perspectives on the challenges and opportunities of mid-single life.
If you'd like to immerse yourself deeper into your own personal development and relationship journey, visit our website at loveinlateryears.com for even more resources. Don't take on divorce recovery and other relationship loss and single life alone. We are here for you.